catwalk for some reason. The Trump is not above the law emergency response protest here in Washington, D.C. has officially begun. Woo! I'm Ben Wickler with MoveOn.org.
I'm Lisa Gilbert with Public Citizen, and we are your co-MCs for tonight. So Trump thought that by waiting until after Election Day, our voices would be silent when he crossed a red line on the Mueller investigation. Well, look around. He was dead wrong.
I think the RF.
President Trump just put someone who has openly trashed Special Counsel Bob Mueller's Russia investigation in charge of it. That is unacceptable. Matt Whitaker has echoed Trump in calling the investigation a witch hunt. He's literally laid out a blueprint for undermining it. Now, thanks to Trump, Whitaker will have final say on the investigation's scope, its budget, its indictments. This is a constitutional crisis waiting to happen. Boo. And that is why we are kicking off these protests. People nationwide are standing up, and there must be accountability for these rule of law affronts. This is nothing less than a slow-motion Saturday night massacre.
Boo!
And we must ensure that the investigation continues in order to protect our elections. Mueller must be allowed to continue his successful work, and Matt Whitaker should never, ever be allowed to oversee it.
Woo! Woo!
Yep.
We're gathered here outside the White House, a house that we pay for. And as we gather here, in hundreds of communities across the country, our fellow Americans are gathering. People are gathering in protest and in solidarity. And our message is clear. Whitaker must recuse.
That's right.
And Congress must act to protect the Mueller investigation.
Yes.
We're here tonight because they just made their move. They thought we were going to be too tired by this election. But we've got the energy. Do we have the energy tonight?
That's right.
They thought that after Election Day, we were going to say we voted, we know our job is done. Is our job done?
No.
They thought that in the congressional lame duck, they could do whatever they wanted. Can they do whatever they want?
No.
Are we going to fight? This is the beginning. Tonight, you're going to hear from people who've been involved in this fight, who will be involved in this fight going forward, about what is on the line, about how all of this works. We're here tonight, but we might be out here again. Are we going to come out whenever we need to, wherever we need to fight for our Constitution, to fight for our country?
That's right. We stand here demanding that Whitaker recuse and remove himself from overseeing the investigation, and we are going to turn it over to excellent speakers to talk about defending democracy, kicking it off with Neera Tanden from the Center for American Progress.
Woo!
So, who's been working hard on these elections? Raise your hand. Who's been fighting for our democracy? Raise your hand. So just to echo Ben, we knew this day would come. We knew this day could come. And we thought, when is he going to do it? When he thinks we're tired and just lost our energy, because we gave everything to these elections, right? We gave everything to these elections, didn't we? And why did we? Because our democracy is worth it. Because we knew this president, and I put president in quotation marks, this guy would do whatever he could to suppress our rights. We see voter suppression throughout the country. But also, we knew that he's a guy who acts guilty. Can you do a little chant on guilty so he can hear it? Guilty! 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 When you go after the prosecutor in your case, aren't you acting like you're guilty instead of innocent? If you're innocent, do you make moves to basically get rid of the prosecutor? Do you put a complete hack at the Department of Justice to oversee your prosecution if you're innocent? Oh, we can all open our eyes, but you know who needs to open their eyes? The media, because we are obviously in a constitutional crisis. This guy thought, just as Ben said, this guy thought, you know what? They're going to be too tired to react. The resistance will go to sleep after this election. The resistance will say, who cares after this election? Are we saying we don't care? No. Are we saying our democracy doesn't matter anymore? No. What he doesn't understand is that we worked our ass off to make sure this guy has accountability when he breaks the law or impedes an investigation or sells our democracy to Russia, right? We worked our ass off to ensure that in this moment he wouldn't get away with it. And what we have to do is not only ensure that a Democratic House subpoenas everyone involved, we need to make sure that over this next 6 weeks, because he thought, oh, I controlled the lame duck. It's still my people. No accountability for me. What do we say to that? Hell no! 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 What we're going to say to him? We need to ensure over these next 6 weeks, 2 months, that we are out here every day and we're saying, no one of your henchmen get to impede this investigation. No hack, no partisan, no crazy lunatic who does everything Donald Trump wants gets to oversee the protection of our democracy. We are going to fight like hell every step of the way. We worked our ass off to make sure someone would hold him accountable, but we're not going to wait till January. We're going to work our ass off the next 2 months to ensure he does not get away with crimes against this country. Thank you so much.
So we are here to protect Bob Mueller, and that is our hashtag. Hashtag protect Mueller. Everyone use it.
So, can we just try this? This side says hashtag, this side says protect Mueller. Hashtag!
Protect Mueller!
Hashtag!
Protect Mueller!
Hashtag!
Protect Mueller!
Excellent. There's someone over there who uses Twitter a lot, so this might be a very effective tactic for us. That's how hashtags work, right? You chant them?
It's truth.
Yeah. One other housekeeping note. If you have a sign, you are amazing. If you have a sign and you're between the stage and the camera, please hold it at waist level. Excellent. So, we are in this moment 2 days after the election, when we showed that despite massive jerry-rigging, despite huge floods of dark money from the right, despite every effort to suppress voters, democracy still exists in the United States of America.
That's right.
And an organization that has helped spawn thousands of groups of regular people across the country played a huge role in the blue wave that went right over the anti-democratic seawall that the Republicans had erected and swept the House away from Republican control. So I'm very excited to introduce our next speaker, Ezra Levin of Indivisible.
Hey everybody, good night. How about this? Oh my gosh, so welcome to the second mass mobilization of the week. You might have heard about the first one. It's when we took the U.S. House of Representatives. They tried every trick in the book to prevent that from happening. It was desperate, but it didn't matter because that's our house now. Whose house? Whose house? Whose house? It's our house. It's our house. Now, what's coming up next? What we just learned is that our new acting attorney general is who? He is the scummiest bottom feeder you could find, which means he's right at home in the Trump cabinet. No, listen to this guy. Listen about this guy. The FTC shut down his sham hot tub selling operation. When I say hot tub, you say sham. Hot tub. Hot tub. Hot tub. This is ridiculous, farcical, if it wasn't so sad and damaging for democracy. And this is part of a long-term effort, decades long. When Republicans get control, they subvert democracy to undermine it and entrench their own power. I'm looking at Georgia. I'm looking at Florida. I'm looking all over the country where hours-long lines were preventing people from exercising their right to vote. But, oh, we're going to get a recount, and we're going to fight for every single vote. Everybody here right now, I can't see the entire crowd here. No, you are not alone here. You're not alone in this area. You're not alone in this country. There are groups all across the country right now with much more eloquent speakers holding rallies like this. It's not just us, it's everywhere. And we're taking our country back because we started with a house and we know whose house that is. We took the House back on Tuesday. In 2 years, we're taking the White House, and between now and then, we are fighting him every step of the way. Thanks, y'all.
Woo.
Herndon, Reston, Indivisible, over here with the lights. Let's give them a round of applause. 160 days of the Kremlin tonight of the Kremlin annex. Let's give them a round of applause. The people who've been out here protesting every single night. You know, this point about our new acting attorney general, which is a constitutionally dubious situation to begin with, is a good one. You've got to think that when Trump was trying to figure out who it is he should put in place to deep six the Mueller probe, he would have thought, I should find someone who's willing to do it, who hasn't publicly said that they want to attack the Mueller probe. And so he must have gone around and asked everyone who had not publicly said they wanted to mess with the Mueller probe, hey, would you mess with the Mueller probe? And they must have all said no. So we wound up with this guy. You can tell how, this is like the Trump inaugural, when he couldn't get any actual celebrities to perform. And actually, Matthew Whitaker was the featured performer at the Trump inaugural as well, you might remember. He's tone deaf, but he did fine.
So with that, I am thrilled to announce a true democracy champion, Jamie Raskin from Maryland District 8, protecting us from dark money, helping us improve voter participation, and a true champion for the rule of law. Representative Raskin, come on up. Woo!
Wow. Hello, champions of freedom and democracy. We got to stop meeting like this. You got to hand it to Donald Trump. The guy does not give us one day off. Waited the entire campaign before sacking the Attorney General because he knew he would be facing a domestic revolution for violating the rule of law like that. He knew that they wouldn't have just lost the House, they would have lost the House and the Senate if he had done that. So he waited until the day after to get it done. My friends, we are in a constitutional emergency right now. We are in a constitutional emergency. And you know, we agree with Attorney General Sessions on almost nothing, right? We don't agree with him about civil rights. And we don't agree with him about civil liberties. And we don't agree with him about consumer rights. We don't agree with him about criminal justice. We don't agree with him about the death penalty. But there's something that Attorney General Sessions got right. We don't agree with him about immigration either, thank you. But wait, the guy understood one thing, which is if the rule of law means anything, it is you cannot destroy investigations in your own case, right? He understood that. Let's give Attorney General Sessions, with whom we agree on nothing else, a round of applause for at least understanding that. But because Attorney General Sessions took that position, because he's insisted upon the independence and the integrity of the special counsel investigation, he has been harassed by Donald Trump. He has been harangued by Donald Trump. He has been heckled by Donald Trump. And now finally, he has been sacked by Donald Trump. In an undated resignation letter, which makes clear the president is forcing him out, Attorney General Sessions has been forced out of the administration. He has been replaced by Matthew Whitaker, a Trump loyalist and outspoken. He's not just a Trump loyalist, he's an outspoken critic of the Mueller investigation. He's already on record about that. His only job qualification is that he will obsequiously and slavishly follow whatever Donald Trump tells him to do. A sycophant, a toady, a stooge, and a lawyer who has been involved with a scam business, Whitaker is not just professionally unqualified to be Attorney General, he is constitutionally unqualified to be Attorney General. And the reason for that is that Article 2, Section 2, Clause 2 of the Constitution says that the President may appoint the principal officers of the executive branch, including the Attorney General, only with the advice and consent of the United States Senate. Okay? And President Trump, I know you're usually such a stickler for the rule of law, but you skipped over that step, okay? And you need to go back and nominate someone to Attorney General and let the Senate do its constitutional duty. The Vacancies Act, by the way, does not help them because Whitaker has never been confirmed by the U.S. Senate for anything, and I doubt he ever will be. Now, as long as Whitaker is sitting in the Attorney General's office and claiming to be the Attorney General of our country, he must recuse himself in this matter. He must recuse. He must recuse. We stand by Robert Mueller, a lifelong Republican of unimpeachable integrity, who was appointed to the job with wide bipartisan support in both the Senate and the House and across the country. We stand with Robert Mueller tonight and with hundreds of millions of Americans across the country. That's what all these people are doing here. We stand with Robert Mueller. We want the president to know, and we want the so-called Attorney General to know that we are treating the White House and we are treating the Department of Justice as a crime scene, and they should be roped off with yellow tape tonight. Tonight. We have legislation that insists upon the preservation of every document and record that has been assembled in the special counsel investigation. We will not allow them to destroy a single document that has been assembled in the course of this investigation. And we have legislation also to protect the special counsel against any further attempts at obstruction of justice by President Donald Trump. We have bipartisan support in the Senate. We hope that we will find a Republican of courage in the House who will join all of the Democrats in saying that the special counsel cannot and shall not be removed except for cause with the approval of a special court panel in the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals. That's the only way it should happen. My friends, this is about the rule of law. This is about the Constitution. This is about our democracy. We've got no kings here, Mr. President. We've got no queens here. We had a revolution against all that. We took care of that more than 2 centuries ago. Under the rule of law, everyone is subject. No one is above the rule of law, including the President of the United States. So, I'm going to leave you. I can't believe you guys have so much energy after that campaign. God bless you for what you're doing. But I want to leave you with the words of the great revolutionary American patriot Thomas Paine, who wrote at the time of the American Revolution a pamphlet called The Crisis. And I'm going to update the language a little bit just so it doesn't offend modern sensibilities at all. But he said, "These are the times that try men and women's souls." Okay? These are the times that try men and women's souls. The summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will shrink at this moment from the service of their cause and their country, but everyone who stands with us now will win the love and the favor and the affection of every man and every woman for all time. For all time. Tyranny, like hell, is not easily conquered, but we have this saving consolation. The more difficult and arduous the struggle, the more glorious in the end is our victory. That victory will be ours. Stand with the Constitution and the people and the democracy.
Jamie Raskin, ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up. Representative Jamie Raskin, part of the new Democratic congressional majority that'll actually do some oversight over this administration.
That's right. So, moving to the president of my organization, Public Citizen. Public Citizen's mission is to take on corporate power, and Robert Weissman epitomizes that fight. He's a champion of democracy for consumers and the public. Let's turn it over to Rob.
Brothers and sisters, defenders of democracy, I have some questions for you. Did Donald Trump fire Jeff Sessions for his attacks on immigrants? No. Did Donald Trump fire Jeff Sessions for renewing the racist war on drugs? No. Did Donald Trump fire Jeff Sessions for being too soft on corporate crime? No. Did Donald Trump fire Jeff Sessions for failing to uphold our democracy? No. Did Donald Trump fire Jeff Sessions because he wants to undermine the Mueller investigation? Yes. Did Donald Trump fire Jeff Sessions because he wants to undermine the Mueller investigation? Yes. You're right, he did. We know that because he's shown and expressed his contempt for the investigation. He thinks Sessions was disloyal for one time following the law and recusing himself. And we know that too because he put in his place a cartoon figure who has no qualifications except for his expressed contempt for the Mueller investigation. Here's what I'm worried about, friends. It would be bad enough if the president was acting to undermine an investigation into his own administration. He's doing that. It would be bad enough if a foreign power appeared to be interfering in our democracy and the president wanted to undermine the investigation and prosecution of crimes related to that engagement. And he's doing that. It would be bad enough if it appeared that he or his family and his campaign seemed to be in some kind of murky collaborative effort with the foreign power to undermine our democracy. And he's absolutely doing that. But I think there's something even more frightening and serious going on. This is what Trump took away from the election we just had. It's true. Democrats swept the country and took the House back in refutation of his presidency. But that's not what Donald Trump learned from the campaign. He learned two things. He learned, first of all, or this is what he thinks he learned. He learned, first of all, that the world revolves around him. That was a previously held belief. Right? If you were with him, you won. If you're against him, you didn't, so on. That's not that important. This is the important thing. What Donald Trump learned, the lesson he took away, is that his political power is at a maximum. At a maximum when he's more racist, when he's more extreme, when he's more anti-immigrant, when he's more autocratic, when he plays to his worst fascist tendencies. That's what he told us. That's what he told us yesterday at his press conference. And when he fired Jeff Sessions, he's not being shy about it. He wants to display his contempt for the rule of law because he thinks it gives him even more power. Now, my friends, is Donald Trump above the rule of law? Is the President of the United States above the rule of law? Who in the United States is above the rule of law? Nobody is above the rule of law. 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 Now, when we say constitutional crisis, democracy in crisis, not an exaggeration. There is no limit to what he will do unless we stop him. Unless we stop him. In this country, it is the people who rule. It is not the autocrat who rules. It is the people who rule. And we will defend our democracy. Congress will act when we make them act. And we will make them act. We've got thousands of people and hundreds of demonstrations with 1 day's notice, brothers and sisters. We are acting now to defend our democracy. I guarantee you, Ben said we may be out again. I guarantee you we will be out again. Because in this country, it's our country. In this country, we decide. In this country, we rule. And we will protect our democracy. We'll protect Bob Mueller. We'll protect the rule of law. We will protect our country. We'll protect what we believe in. We will protect our democracy. It is an honor to be here with you. Thank you so much for turning out.
Thanks so much, Rob.
Our next speaker, unlike our president, is a West Point graduate. He's a veteran. He served 2 combat tours in Iraq. He earned 2 Bronze Stars. He took an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. So did Trump. So much for that. He's the acting executive director of the Truman National Security Project. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Bishop Garrison.
How's everybody doing tonight? My name is Bishop. I'm going to tell you, first of all, I'm not clergy, so let's just get that out of the way. Not a man of the cloth. What I'm not an organizer. I'm not a politico. I'm not an elected official. What I am is a father, a husband, a son, a brother, the son of a veteran, the grandson of a veteran, the son-in-law of a veteran, the grandson-in-law of a veteran. I am a person whose family has dedicated their lives to service of this nation. I am a national security professional who leads a group proudly of national security and foreign policy professionals. And I can tell you now, here, unequivocally, that what we have is an issue of national security. We were attacked, ladies and gentlemen, and we still have not gotten down to the bottom of it. We still don't know how we were attacked. We still do not know all the details of the attack. And that is what we're after, the truth. This is about the legitimacy of our government. This is about the legitimacy of democracy. This is about the values that we hold dear as a nation, as a people. I look across this crowd and I don't see people of individual faith. I don't just see women. I don't see just men. I don't see just black or white. I see Americans. America was attacked. And we're demanding that the President of the United States do what is his job under the Constitution and find out who attacked that democracy. And I know you folks are exhausted because I am tired too. We just finished one of the most historic elections in the history of this country, something we should all be incredibly proud of because you worked your tails off for those victories. You fought for those victories. But I have to tell you, the fight is not over. The fight continues, and it continues here tonight. Because my family and I and my brothers and sisters in combat, we fought for this country. We fought for our rights. We fought for equal rights. We fought for all of your rights. And all of us together as a nation, as a community, as a people that love one another are going to continue to fight. We will not stop. We will not yield until we get answers, until we find the truth. I am here today with you side by side. We were going to do it. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
We will find the truth. That is correct. And I am thrilled to bring our next speaker up. The bedrock of our country are our workers, and a big portion of that are our teachers. So could not be more excited to bring Randy Weingarten up to talk about what this means to working people.
Randy Weingarten, President of the American Federation of Teachers. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. So, I am so glad a military man went before me, because you are the defenders of democracy. But more important than that, we are the first responders for democracy. The first responders for democracy. And we need to do that now because democracy is in crisis. We have a constitutional crisis that is emerging before our eyes. And we are here tonight in front of the White House, like other people are all throughout America, because we are taking that role of first responders very seriously. Now, I was, in my teaching life, an 11th and 12th grade social studies teacher. Let's hear it for teachers. And I taught my students about Watergate and what happened in Watergate. And I taught my students about how, for generations, we have had essentially a piece of paper, not a king, not a queen, not a tyrant. It hasn't always been pretty, but a piece of paper, two pieces of paper that established our country and that governed our country, the Constitution of the United States of America. And in Watergate, it wasn't pretty, but after the Saturday night massacre, Republicans and Democrats and independents alike all stood up as the responders and defenders of democracy and said something is wrong. Now, just yesterday, just Tuesday, we had a blue wave, and you knew that this president would try to do something about about that. So after his press conference, he did a tsunami against that blue wave. But remember, we, the people, are the first responders for democracy, and we will protect for democracy against that tsunami, right? 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 And the first step is to be the presence, to bear witness, to protest, to not let them get away with anything. And the first step is to protect Mueller. So will we protect Mueller? Will we hashtag it? Will we do everything we can as we the people to protect democracy and to be its first responders? No matter how tired we are, no matter how much comes against us, because it is our responsibility to protect this Constitution and protect this land. Thank you very much.
Randy, thank you. That was fantastic.
You know, politics is supposed to be about public service. But in this administration, the only service going on is when people get served indictments by the Mueller investigation. And speaking of service, our next speaker I'm so pleased to welcome, and speaking of workers, is the president of the Service Employees International Union, Mary Kay Henry. Let's give it up.
Yes.
The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be divided. The people united will never be divided. Thank you so much, brothers and sisters. The 2 million members of SEIU are joining in these protests all across this country because we agree with you. No one is above the law. And just 2 days ago, people all across this country joined together and made a demand through their ballot that this country has to be for all of us and not just the wealthy few. So how dare Donald Trump allow for this transition in the Justice Department just hours after the people of this nation had spoken through their precious right to vote? And what the members of SEIU think is that when people gather together to create a playing field that does a check on corporate power and elected officials who think they're going to be unaccountable to us, the struggle intensifies. When non-union workers join together in a workplace to try and get a seat at the table, they usually meet with some initial resistance from employers who think, why should I share control and power? I'd rather just call the shots. And I would say that we're in a moment in this country where we have been gathering together in the resistance and Tuesday in this midterm election to push back on people who think that one person can call all the shots in this nation. Is that right? So say it with me. No one is above the law. 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 Thank you very much, brothers and sisters. We're going to stay in the streets to defend democracy. We're headed to Georgia to count every vote, and we're headed to Florida to make sure every vote counts in that state too. We can defend democracy on many fronts because we are a powerful force for change that is growing and growing and growing every day, and there's going to be no obstacle in our way from building the most powerful, just, inclusive America that this nation has ever seen, and our members are proud to be in this fight with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mary Kay Henry. Folks, it is dark out here, and this is a dark time in our country, but there's a lot of light. I want everyone to lift your sign up and just look around you. Lift your candle if you have one. Look at those candles, you guys. There are thousands of us here. thousands of us outside the White House on a few hours' notice. It's amazing, and this is happening across the country at this moment. We are a force to be reckoned with. Democracy is alive in the United States of America tonight.
Yes, that is right. Democracy is alive, and so is ethics. So I am thrilled to introduce Walter Shaub. He was appointed in the Obama administration. He ran the Office of Governmental Ethics, and no surprise, he was disgusted by this administration and he stepped down. So he is here to talk about what it's like on the inside, why we need the rule of law. He's currently with the Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics.
We are in a full-blown constitutional crisis. And we're here because Donald Trump thinks he's above the law. You know, this is a constitutional crisis, but it's also an ethics issue. I spent a decade and a half as a government ethics official. I took an oath also to protect America from all enemies, foreign and domestic. And I was the director of the Office of Government Ethics, so I'm going to give you a very simple ethics lesson. If you are the subject of an investigation, if your campaign is the subject of an investigation, if your appointees are the subject of an investigation, and your families and your businesses, then you have a conflict of interest with that investigation. You can't be your own prosecutor, Mr. Trump. You can't be your own investigator. But Trump has stepped in and tried to become his own investigator because he fired Attorney General Sessions after months of railing against him for refusing to interfere in the investigation. You know, Sessions recused after I called over to the Department of Justice and read them the Riot Act about how he had no business being involved in it. And they pushed back. And that surprised me because they have really good ethics officials over there. So I found myself asking, why would they push back? And then it became clear when they announced in the news that Don McGahn, former White House counsel, acting on orders from Trump, was trying to pressure Jeff Sessions to violate a criminal law by participating in that investigation. Now, Sessions was a terrible attorney general. But he did exactly one thing right in his life, and that was follow the rules and recuse from that investigation. And Donald Trump couldn't handle that, so he fired him. Nixon tried the same thing, and it ended his presidency. It should end this presidency. But Donald Trump skipped over Rosenstein so he could pick a partisan bulldog. Whitaker isn't even slightly qualified for this. People have called him a cartoon character. I think that's an insult to cartoons. The man has called the investigation a lynch mob. He has said that he would starve it for funds to shut it down. And that's exactly what he's going to do. He can do a whole lot of things behind the scenes, and you're never going to see it. So this is the moment of crisis. This is the constitutional crisis before the Mueller investigation suffers death by 1,000 cuts. Whitaker needs to stay out of that investigation. Whitaker must recuse. And let me tell you some more about the ethics rules. The ethics rules have a set of principles that are enforceable in the Office of Government Ethics Regulations, and the first principle is loyalty to the Constitution and the rule of law, not to a corrupt politician. Another principle requires impartiality, and Whitaker falls short on that count too, because he's made it clear he's already made up his mind about this investigation. But Whitaker has another conflict that requires him to recuse under Department of Justice rules and under the impartiality regulation of the Office of Government Ethics. He's got a friend named Sam Clovis. He ran Sam Clovis's unsuccessful campaign in 2014, and Clovis, needing a job, went on to work for the Trump campaign, where he was the guy who talked to Papadopoulos about bringing in the Russians. Clovis has said that he and Whitaker have remained, quote, great friends. So that is why Whitaker has to recuse, if for nothing else. His friend Clovis is at the epicenter of the Russian investigation. What's at stake is nothing less than the rule of law and the integrity of our republic. If we let Trump get away with this, if we let him hold himself above the rule of law, anything is possible for him, and he has shown us he's capable of anything. So Whitaker needs to recuse. We need members of Congress to demand he recuse. We need the Department of Justice's ethics officials to screw up their courage and tell them to recuse. Mueller must be protected. So let's demand it now. Whitaker must recuse. Whitaker must recuse. Whitaker must recuse. Whitaker must recuse.
Thanks so much to Walter Schaub from Crew.
Here's another little chant that I have to say Tuesday gave me some faith in. You might have heard it before. When we fight, we win. When we fight,
we win.
When we fight,
we win.
When we fight,
we win.
When we fight,
we win.
Our next speaker, I am very pleased to say, her name rhymes with the chant. So, when we fight,
we win.
Karen Hobart Flynn.
Yes.
Karen Hobart Flynn of Common Cause, ladies and gentlemen. Give her a round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you so much. First, I want to thank each and every one of you for turning out for our democracy. Thank you. A round of applause. Also, I want to thank our brothers and sisters in communities across the country who are also showing up for democracy tonight. Let's hear it for them. Yes! The American people in our most recent election turned out for democracy. It is a blue wave. It was a blue wave. We saw the Republicans in the House lose 30 seats, at least 30 seats. There were 225 state legislative seats, 6 or 7 governorships that were won in this election. And every time a ballot initiative took on money in politics, gerrymandering, wanted to fight gerrymandering, expanding voting rights, any democracy reform, those measures won with broad support. Yes, broad support. Democrats, Republicans, and independents. And people expect us to have a democracy, and they put in place a check on the power of that president in that White House. When you look at, even in the Senate races, Democrats won 12.5 million more votes than Republicans. And when you ask those voters why they voted, many voted because of that president in that White House and holding him accountable. That's what they wanted to see. So what did this administration, what did President Trump do after the election? He held that press conference for 90 minutes in the White House. And what did he do? He did. He said, if you investigate me, I will investigate you. It will be war, and we will stop the government from functioning. So he threatened the American people for holding him accountable. We're here tonight and over the next few months to say Trump is not above the law. 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 Not above the law. That's exactly right. So As many people have said, we were not fans of Jeff Sessions at Common Cause and the 1.3 million members of Common Cause. We didn't like his positions on immigration, on voting rights, civil rights, you name it. He is terrible for the Justice Department. The one thing he did right was to recuse himself, and that is why Trump fired him. Let's be clear. So what are our demands tonight? One, the crony that they have put in place, Whitaker must recuse. Whitaker must recuse. Whitaker must recuse. Whitaker must recuse. What else? Congress must hold this administration accountable. They need to pass legislation that protects the Mueller investigation. That has to happen. And then finally, we need to show up for democracy. We need to show up for democracy. And why is that? Because we, the people, have the power. 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 Thank you so much, and we will see you again and again because we are going to win this fight.
So, yesterday, when the news broke that the president had pushed out his attorney general and installed a lackey as the new acting attorney general, Lisa organized a conference call of the groups that have been working together to organize the TrumpisNotAboveTheLaw.org coalition. And we all got on the phone and we said, are people just too exhausted? We said, if we call for these protests right now, will anybody show up? Lisa, did anyone show up tonight?
Yes. So we've just been told that this protest takes up these entire blocks. The entire park is full. Congratulations. Thank you for coming. We will protect Bob Mueller.
Our next speaker. Whoa. We are giving this White House some feedback tonight. Our next speaker is Maya Berry of the Arab American Institute. Let's give her a huge round of applause.
You guys look pretty freaking awesome. My name is Maya Berry. I'm the executive director of the Arab American Institute. We were established in 1985, a few years back, specifically to deal with the civic engagement and political empowerment of an ethnic-based constituency. On Tuesday, like I trust all of you, since you're out here in the night cold weather, we were working really hard. We partnered with a bunch of wonderful organizations, including the Lawyers Committee, to run the Election Protection Hotline. Yep. So ours is Yalla US. Yalla is the Arabic word for hurry up, colloquial. We use it for everything. So we run an Arabic English one. There's one in Spanish. It's available in multiple languages. And it's not a surprise. Thousands and thousands of calls were received into this hotline because of the threat to democracy that we've been seeing building for years. So in the best democracy on the planet, I was happy to participate and have a hotline. We're happy to run the kind of work that we do. But I thought to myself, well, this isn't working. We're not supposed to be deploying lawyers across the country to protect the sacred right to vote. So I was talking to a journalist about it, and she's asking about the hotline, and I said, you know, I'm this guy's worst nightmare. Because first of all, I'm an immigrant to this country. That's right. And I'm not only an immigrant who is obsessed with voting, and literally I love democracy, I actually help other people vote. On top of that, as an Arab American, I'm from that Middle East. Remember? Yeah, I'm from the Middle East. And if I can one-up anyone else in this audience, I'm also Muslim. So technically, had our country had this man in office, I actually would have been banned from entry. So as we sit here together tonight, and we're talking about incredibly important constitutional challenges, I want to remind you of something. A man that could, within days of taking this office, I had notes. A man that could, within days of taking this office, issue the Muslim ban. Think about that. Think about the attempting to ban the faith of nearly 2 billion people on this planet. A man that can do that can definitely ban CNN from the White House, right? We know that. A man that can, after having people march in Charlottesville in front of a synagogue saying Jews will not replace us. And then we had, of course, the recent act and brutal violence again in Pittsburgh. A man that can do that can also deploy military to the border to protect us from people. We're supposed to be scared of each other. Fear is supposed to be what's taking place here, instead of the conversation about democracy. We have to remember that every single thing he does is a distraction. And we have to be careful to not be distracted. Voting rights, the role of money in politics, gerrymandered districts. What he has done is moved us away from focusing on these things, and we have to pivot back. The executive branch right now is failing. We know it. We know it. What do we have? We have the judiciary. After the Kavanaugh hearings, it's really difficult to have faith in that branch of government as well. So what's left? Tuesday was important because it brought congressional oversight. I got to tell you, I run a nonpartisan organization. I have Republicans and Democrats on my board. I am not here representing one party or another. This is about saving democracy in this country. Congressional oversight is an obligation. Jamie Raskin is my congressman. I'm so incredibly proud of him for raising the Constitution. That's what's important here. So Tuesday gave us back the sliver of hope that that branch of government will rise up and focus again on the oversight role. But folks, I need you to do one thing. There's two things, actually. Sorry, two things. The first of it is, let's please stay focused on what he is attempting to do with fear, and then let's forget about him entirely. Let's pivot to our policymakers and elected officials who took the oath of office to this Constitution. As an immigrant, when I took my oath of citizenship, the first person that said "my fellow American" to me was Ronald Reagan. It was 1984 in Detroit, Michigan. I wear this flag proudly. There is nothing that this person can strip away from what it means to all of us, whether born here, not born here, undocumented, doesn't matter. Americans believe in the Constitution of this country, and we have to demand the oversight of our elected officials to do the same. And here's the last point. At that incredibly disturbing press conference yesterday, he said, "I can fire anybody," right? Let's please remember, he can't actually fire everybody, and it doesn't matter. He can't fire us. And if Congress can't provide the oversight, we provide the oversight. Please stay focused. Thank you.
My very ladies and gentlemen.
Woo!
Whose house?
Our house!
Whose house?
Our house!
Whose house?
Our house!
Whose house?
Our house!
So, a friend of the protest, Joe Madison, SiriusXM host, just came over, showed me his phone. He just got a text from Elijah Cummings, who's at the rally in Baltimore, just got off the stage. 700 people in Baltimore tonight.
That's right.
And there are hundreds of these protests tonight.
So Maya's words really resonated with me as a Jew, as we stand here together, as we push back on hate, as we call for democracy. I am so proud to bring up Rabbi Jason Kimmelman Block from Bend the Ark Jewish Action. Woo!
Thank you all for being here tonight. Is anyone tired? Does anyone need sleep? Is everyone ready to stand up for democracy? Are we ready to fight for our country? Did we need another data point that we have an out-of-control president who does not care about the rule of law or democracy? Let's be real about Jeff Sessions. Jeff Sessions, in many, many, many ways, almost every way, was the ideal Donald Trump Attorney General. He is a white nationalist that was implementing a white nationalist agenda from the Justice Department. He attacked civil rights. He attacked voting rights. And among many, many other things, he laid the groundwork for our government to be kidnapping immigrant children and taking them from their families. Shame. So how did he get fired? The one reason that he got fired is Donald Trump thinks that the Attorney General, the head of the Justice Department, is like his own mafia lawyer whose sole job is to protect him. This move came one day after the end of a despicable campaign season filled with racism, xenophobia, Islamophobia, anti-Semitism. This is classic textbook demagoguery that we're seeing. This president continues to act every bit as the authoritarian dictator that he admires so much in North Korea and Russia. Will we allow a dictatorship in the United States? Are we going to allow it? And if you think that this looks like a desperate, ill-considered move by a desperate man, you're right. Despite him trying to spin that this election went well for him, we all know what the truth is. We won. And what he knows and why he's so desperate is he knows that a check on his power is coming. Accountability is coming. And that scares him desperately. My friends, we have Donald Trump on the run. Will we allow this to go unchallenged? We will say to every single public official who has sworn an oath on to uphold the Constitution that this is the time to stand up and be counted. And we will say to every single American, whether you consider yourself conservative or progressive, whoever you voted for, this is the moment when the fabric of our democracy is threatened. This is the moment and to declare clearly Trump is not above the law. Trump is not above the law. Trump is not above the law.
Trump is not above the law. Trump is not above the law.
Trump is not above the law.
Huge thanks to you, Rabbi. So we just got word from New York that Times Square is full.
Hundreds in Omaha, Nebraska tonight. It's cold in Chicago. There are hundreds in Federal Plaza in Chicago tonight. Boston Common is big and Boston Common is packed.
That's right.
It's too dark to be sunny in Philadelphia, but there are 1,000 people protesting. We'll continue to keep you apprised of crowd size reports as the evening continues. This is a big night. This is an important night, but this is not the end. Who's gonna keep fighting?
That's right.
Who's gonna keep showing up?
We are.
And who's ready for our next speaker?
I am.
Marge Baker from People for the American Way. Let's give her a round of applause.
Oh my gosh. You can't see out there, but it is so exciting. You can hear the excitement. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for showing up. Thank you for showing up every day. Thank you for showing up for our democracy. So I'm Marge Baker. I am here representing the 1.5 million members of People for the American Way, thousands of whom are today, at this night, at this time, protesting around the country at all these events that we're hearing about. And it is so incredibly exciting. And we're here to send a message to Donald Trump that no one, especially the president, is above the law. Now, I have a slightly different chant, okay? I'm going to say, Trump is not above the law, and you're going to say, democracy is for all of us. Trump is not above the law. Democracy is for all. Trump is not above the law. Democracy is for all. One more time. Trump is not above the law. Democracy is for all. That's fantastic. Now this week, on Tuesday, we saw a wave of Americans who went to the polls and demanded a check on this out-of-control president. He clearly didn't get the message, right? But we did! We did! And that's why we're here tonight, and that's why all these people are gathering around the country tonight. It's to fight for our democracy. Now, yes. So now I want to be clear. You've heard this from others, but I just want to say on behalf of People for the American Way that we have no great fondness for Jefferson Beauregard Sessions. His attacks on civil rights, on voting rights, on immigrants, it's appalling. But as folks have noted, the one thing he did right, the only thing he did right, which was to recuse himself from overseeing the Mueller investigation, is what got him fired. The one thing he did right got him fired. And we now have this monstrosity of Matt Whitaker overseeing. Oh, right, absolutely. Handpicked by Trump to oversee the Mueller investigation. There are two fundamental problems with this. As we've heard from a number of speakers, you can't pick the person who's investigating you. You can't do it. It's just common sense. And the other thing is that, as folks have said, Matt Whitaker has shown his true colors. And I want to read to you a couple of the things that Matt Whitaker has said that shows there's no way he can be overseeing this investigation. He has to recuse himself. He has said that the Trump legal team should not cooperate with Mueller. This is the person who's here to oversee the investigation. He said the Trump legal team shouldn't cooperate with Mueller. He's talked about ways the Mueller investigation, right, boo, could be tanked by cutting its funding. Boo. He's called the Mueller investigation a witch hunt. Boo. He even, get this, he even defended the Trump Tower meeting where Donald Trump Jr., Jared Kushner, and Paul Manafort met with Russian agents. Boo! Boo! Okay, so it's clear. Matt Whitaker has got to go. He's got to recuse himself. But there are three other really important things that we need to keep demanding. And now that we have the results from Tuesday, we can do it, okay? We've got to pass the bipartisan legislation to protect the Mueller investigation. That legislation came out of the Senate Judiciary Committee on a strong bipartisan vote. Instead of Mitch McConnell spending his time putting judges on the court who believe the president is above the law, right? We need to pass legislation to make sure the president is not above the law. Pass that legislation, all right? Second, we have got to demand assurances from whoever comes in as Attorney General that they will protect the Mueller investigation, right? We've heard maybe it's Chris Christie. Oh, we've heard maybe it's Chris Kobach. Oh. I don't care what Chris it is, all right? Whoever it is, whoever comes in has got to commit to protect the Mueller investigation. And the last thing is we now have the opportunity for serious oversight. We have and we have to press for that. We have to demand that. We have to get that. And we do have to do whatever we can to support our allies on the Hill who are doing that oversight. So, right? So pass the bipartisan Mueller protection legislation, demand the firm commitment to protect the Mueller investigation, and do some serious oversight, right? So listen, thank you all for coming tonight. Thank you for being in this fight. Thank you for staying in this fight. We're in this. And remember, Trump is not above the law. Democracy is for us all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marge. Woo!
Now, I've just been made aware that it is now nighttime here in Washington, D.C. And I know, it's outrageous. It might be hard to realize how many people are here. So I'm going to ask everyone to do something. If you have a candle, I want you to hold it up above your head. And if you do not have a candle, I want you to get out your phone and hold it up above your head. Put those up, put your flashlight on your phone. Now look around. Look around, folks. Do you see this sea of lights? Do you see this sea of lights? If you have a sign and a phone or a candle, and you have 2 or 3 arms, hold them above your head. That didn't work as well. But the phones and the candles, that worked so beautifully. Let's do it one more time. Phones and candles above your head, folks. Let's see those reach for the sky. Beautiful. Now let's all say hello on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Hello. Good evening. Good evening. We're going to keep fighting. We're going to introduce our next speaker.
Yes, we are. So I am thrilled to bring someone up who's been fighting the good fight for many years. He is the godfather of campaign finance reform, fighting for public financing, for disclosure, for a constitutional amendment to overturn Citizens United. It's Fred Wertheimer, president of Democracy 21.
Thank you. Let me first take a moment to point out that all of these events that are going on all over the country did not happen by accident, and we owe an enormous debt of gratitude to Move On, Indivisible, and Public Citizen, who have been organizing this for months. Now, I think we have to be pretty simple about what's going on here. The president fired Sessions because he's going to try to kill the Mueller investigation, eliminate it. So, as was mentioned before, we are in a war now. It's a political war It's not a war with bullets, but we fight it with people, and we're going to have to win. I was in Washington 45 years ago, working as a lobbyist for Common Cause, when President Nixon fired Archibald Cox, the special Watergate prosecutor, because he would not bend the knee to President Nixon. Archibald Cox was a man of extraordinary integrity, and when Nixon tried to get him to remove a lawsuit, he refused, and Cox fired him. Now, the next thing that happened is your parents and your grandparents rose up. There was an explosion in this country, and the American people said, no, we're not going to accept this. And they did not. Within days, a new Watergate special prosecutor was appointed. The Watergate prosecution went on, and months later, Nixon resigned. I did not expect ever to be back talking about this problem again, but that's what we're facing today. We have, as has been said, we've got a constitutional crisis. We've got an attack on the rule of law. We've got a president who thinks he's a dictator. So we are all out here tonight, but this is just the beginning. This is a fight that we're all going to have to participate in, and we're going to have to be there for as long as it takes. We don't just have to demand that Whitaker recuse himself. We have to ensure that the Mueller investigation is protected. We have to go at our members of Congress. We can't let them sidestep this anymore, as the Senate Republicans have been doing. We have to make demands and demands and demands until we win this. We're in a fight. This is a fight our parents and grandparents won in 1973, and has now been passed on to us to win it today. When Archibald Cox was fired, this is what he said. He said, whether we shall continue to be a government and of laws and not of men and women is now for Congress and ultimately the American people to decide. That is the challenge that has been passed on to us. And I urge all of us to prepare for a very tough battle, a battle that we will win. President Trump is going to lose. Robert Mueller, who is the modern-day version of Archibald Cox, is going to prevail. And we will protect our democracy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fred.
So more news from the field. There are hundreds of people in Raleigh tonight. It is 48 degrees in Portland, Maine. Hundreds of people. It is just above freezing in Detroit, Michigan. Hundreds of people. I am from Madison, Wisconsin. Thank you. Madison, Wisconsin is not warm in November, and tonight in Madison, Wisconsin, outside the Capitol, there are 2,000 people protesting tonight. Oh, and by the way, on Twitter, the #1 trending topic nationally right now is #ProtectMueller.
That's right. So this effort has been put together by hundreds of organizations working to turn people out. So we just want to say some thank yous quickly. Rapid fire.
Rapid fire.
Thanks to Action Group Network.
The American Federation of Teachers.
Americans for Democratic Action.
Avaz.
Bend the Arc.
Center for American Progress.
Color of Change.
Common Cause.
Common Defense.
Credo Action.
Daily Code.
Democracy for America.
Demos.
Friends of the Earth.
Greenpeace.
Healthcare Voter.
Indivisible.
March On.
March for Truth.
Next Gen America.
Our Revolution.
Pantsuit Nation.
People for the American Way.
Progressive Change Campaign Committee.
Resist Bots.
SEIU.
Tax March.
Truman National Security Project.
Ultraviolet.
Women's March.
Working Families Party.
Let's give a round of applause. Hold your candles in the air. And our next speaker is Lauren Windsor of American Family Voices. Let's give it up.
It is a little cold, but it feels great outside, fighting for democracy. So I'm going to be very brief, I promise. It's a little hard to see, though, so give me one sec. But I'm here today because I wanted to name some names. George Papadopoulos. Paul Manafort. Rick Gates. Michael Flynn. 13 Russian nationals and 3 Russian companies. Richard Pinedo. Alex Vanderswan. Konstantin Kalimnik. 12 Russian GRU officers. Sam Patton. And Michael Cohen. Mueller has indicted or gotten guilty pleas from 32 people and 3 companies that we know of. It is imperative that we protect his investigation. It is imperative that we stop the politicization of the Department of Justice. And it is imperative that we save our democracy from this tyrant. Thank you.
Someone just made a good point. There's also an unindicted co-conspirator who lives in that house right there.
So to turn it over to someone who knows a little bit about ethics, we've got Noah Bookbinder, president of CREW, Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington.
So, first of all, wow. Everybody's exhausted, but you're here. And because you're exhausted and I'm exhausted, I'm not going to go in detail over the 7-page document that we filed a couple of hours ago explaining to the Justice Department in painstaking detail why Matthew Whitaker has to recuse. So I'll sum it up. There are a lot of amazing signs out there, and I'll sum up our document with my favorite of the signs that I've seen. The sign said, "This is bad." And that's sort of the gist of it. So I used to be a federal corruption prosecutor, and the first thing you learn when you're a federal corruption prosecutor is that the political folks, the president and his people, have to stay away from the corruption prosecutions. That's how it has always worked. That's how it has to work until this administration. And that is bad. This president has made it his mission from the day that Robert Mueller was brought in as special counsel to do everything he can to undercut this investigation. He has
He has constantly badmouthed Robert Mueller, and there's no better public servant than Robert Mueller. He's attacked Mueller. He's attacked the people who work for him. He has tried to turn the public against this investigation. He has demanded loyalty. He fired the FBI director who wouldn't promise him loyalty. There's a word, well, it's not a word, there's a phrase for that. It's called obstruction of justice. But this week it got worse, because not only is he trying to, at every step, obstruct this investigation, he has now put in somebody to oversee this investigation who is being put in there precisely because he's the guy to try to shut the investigation down. Matthew Whitaker has criticized Robert Mueller's investigation again and again and again. He's called it a lynch mob. He's called it a witch hunt. He's said it should be shut down. But it actually gets worse than that. Matthew Whitaker actually went on TV and explained how an attorney general could shut down the Mueller investigation. And that's why he's in the job. It's not his credentials. It's not his resume. It's because he's the guy who explained how to do what the president wants him to do. He is the president's guy. And the attorney general cannot be the president's lawyer. The attorney general is the attorney general of the United States of America. So because I never imagined that I would be in a place with thousands of people who could participate in a chant that had the word recuse in it, why don't we go with Whitaker must recuse, Whitaker must recuse, Whitaker must recuse, Whitaker must recuse. Amazing. And it can't stop there. Congress has to step in and protect this investigation. Congressional leaders have said they didn't have to pass legislation protecting Mueller because Mueller wasn't at risk. Well, I've got news for you. This president has already ordered the firing of Robert Mueller. He did that. His staff didn't go through with it, but he did that. And this week he took a big step to go further in that direction. So how about a protect Mueller chant? Protect Mueller, protect Mueller, protect Mueller. And to this Congress and the next Congress coming in January, that is what the people want. That is what you need to do. Thank you all so much for coming out for justice and democracy.
Thanks so much, Noah. And that's right, that's why we're here, justice and democracy.
Before I introduce our last speaker, let's remember that this is not the fight of a night. We might need to come out again, and maybe again, and maybe again, and maybe again. And if we need to come out, a technical note, a good way to find out about the protest is to get a text message. So if you want to get text alerts about future mobilizations in DC, opportunities to take action, Move On has you covered. Take out your phone, send a text message to 668-366. What was the number? 668-366. That's a good chant. 668-366. 668-366. Perfect. Okay, you got it. Text the word join to that number. What's the word you text?
Join.
All right, so if you text JOIN to 668-366, you will get a text message if there's another break glass in case of emergency type situation, and we'll be right back out here. Who's going to come back out next time we need to fight?
Yes.
Who is ready to fight?
Yes.
Who is never going to give up? Who's going to defend our Constitution?
We will.
Who's never going to give up on the United States of America?
That's right.
Good. I think they're in.
I think so. Great. So our last speaker, turning it over to Harper Jean Tobin of the National Center for Transgender Equity.
Wow! Gosh, look at all of you. This is fantastic. So, when somebody moves into that house over there, our house over there, we expect them to uphold the law. We expect them to respect the law. We expect them to protect the rule of law. Because the rule of law protects all of us, right? And at the National Center for Transgender Equality, I advocate for the nearly 2 million folks in this country who are transgender. Thank you. We know all too well this president's disregard for the law in the trans community. We know all too well how this president tries to govern by tweet instead of by the law. We know all too well how he will ignore court rulings and try to erase the law in his efforts to erase who we are. But we are not going to be erased. And the rule of law in this country is not going to be erased. We know no president, no administration can outrun the consequences of their actions, can ignore the rule of law for long. We will not let them, right? This president is terrified, and he should be. He is routinely, as the rabbi said a few minutes ago, treated our government like a mob boss treats his family. He has shown nothing short of a disdain for the very laws and principles that protect our rights, our lives, our democracy, while too many of our leaders in Congress have pushed their heads deeper in the sand. And we're not going to let them do that anymore, not after yesterday, right? This president can run, but he cannot hide. From the people who turned out to vote yesterday, from so many of the people that he attacked and denigrated, who nevertheless ran for office in record numbers and won. He can't hide from the rule of law, from the consequences of his actions. So even while trans people and immigrants and so many others are fighting for our rights, for our lives, I mean, just today, and we got to learn to walk and chew gum, folks. We got to do that, right? Because just today, also, they rolled out the latest attempt, this latest hateful ban against asylum seekers, right? We've got to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time, right? We got to keep our eyes, whatever fight we have to stay in this fight. Because this fight for the rule of law is for all of us. And so, even while so many of us are fighting not to be erased, we are together here to stand up for democracy, for the rule of law that protects all of us. We must all be together in this fight. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Harper Jean.
USA! 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 All right, before we wrap, folks, let's give folks some thanks. First, everyone who came out tonight, let's thank each other. Thank you. My colleague Emma Einhorn organizing our speakers from behind the stage. Thank you, Emma.
Thank you.
Everyone working on the sound and the stage here. Give them a round of applause from PM1 Productions. Everyone keeping us safe tonight. Give them a round of applause. Everyone who's organized the logistics and the permits and all the complexities, give them a round of applause. The workers of IATSE Local 22, let's give them a round of applause. And an anticipatory thank you to the folks from the Kremlin Annex who will begin their protests because tonight is a night and they are here every night on Pennsylvania Avenue starting at 7:30. Thank you to the Kremlin Annex folks. And thanks to my co-MC Lisa Gilbert.
Thanks to Ben Wickler.
Raise your candle or your phone one last time and take a look around. We are here representing millions of people and there are thousands of us right here tonight. Look around. It is awe-inspiring. The forces of democracy are not going to quit. We have proved that tonight. We will prove that every night. And I believe that we will win. Can you repeat after me? I believe.
I believe.
I believe that. I believe that we. I believe that we will win. 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 One more. I believe that we will win.
So there's just one more thing that we want to do. Just a minute ago, a small child came out of the crowd, gave me a hug, and said she loves rallying, and asked that we all give out a primal scream. It can be a scream of joy because we're all here together. It can be a scream of anger because we are angry at that man. But whatever it is, let's take a second and scream.
On the count of three, folks.
Right, yes, on the count of three. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
That was incredible. Thank you.
Your land and this land is my land, from the California to the New York Island.
Tiny hands off Mueller! Hello, my friends.
Prosecute Trump. Prosecute Trump. Prosecute Trump. Or like the Empire State Building.
Prosecute Trump.
Prosecute Trump. Show me what democracy looks like.
It says what democracy looks like.
Love, not hate. That's what makes America great. Love, not hate. That's what makes America great. Not hate. That's what makes America great.
Sure, try. I'm not exactly sure how to do this. How to like switch it from this to, oh, duh, I get it.
Yes.
Right.
And I think,
Got it, recording now. Do you want me to get the crowd shot instead?
Seriously, like who's worse? Who's worse? China is like not even really.
Maybe they'll be, they're all going to like a rally with speakers, I guess, 14th Street. Yeah, that's it.
that means you.
Hey, Grant, they're all going to a rally with, I believe, speakers at 14th Street. On 23rd Street.
Follow us to Union Square, folks.
Shit between now and then.
Stay in front of the marshals, please.